Hello YouTubes, this is Grimweird coming back at you with more Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2, and this is E2E version 1.75. So when last we left, we had done some more Thaumcraft. We had gotten some infusions out of the way. Now we're going to try and sort of close things up on Thaumcraft. So what we're going to do right now is we need to make a causality collapser and close a rift and hope that we get a primordial pearl or such thing out of it to finish up our last bit of Thaumcraft. So I'm going to go ahead and show this one. It takes a couple of Nitor of any color, a couple of Elementum, a Morphic Resonator, a Vis Resonator, some Redstone blocks, some Vidium, and Alienus. The Vidium I think I got from Netherwart, the Alienus I can't remember. But let's see, we can take a look real quick. If you click on them and go here, you can see what kinds of things offer up. Alienus. I might have used Purpur or Ender Pearls or something like that. Possibly Ender Pearls since I have so many of them. Anyway, bottom line is we're all ready to go here. So if we break out our gauntlet here, I think we've got everything all set up. We've got TNT in the middle. Let's give this a run. So now this is if we take a look at this, this is a very high instability. But if we look at here, it's going to be a 0 to 1.6% loss per cycle. We have a 3.48 gain thanks to all of our candles down below in the basement. So this should be a piece of cake, no problem. We've got so much stability on this thing that even dangerous ones should be no issue to go through here. Completely drama free. So we're just going to let this go. It looks like it's taken in some resonance or some essence. Last time I had mentioned that we do have 3 cost stones underneath the pedestals. So this is going to cost us supposedly 50 alienus. But it looks like it only cost us 47. So that sort of gives you an idea that you can save a little bit of essence. Not a huge amount. But the cost stones also make increased stability, I think, or they reduce the chance of an instability event. There goes the last of our reagents. And boom, we have our causality collapser. Now I don't think the chance of getting a primordial pearl, which is what we need, I don't think that is 100% on closing a rift. So we're just going to have to sort of hope. And we'll see what happens. So let's run out to the rift. I opened up a rift, as I mentioned last time, out in the middle of the ocean. Got my Ender book tuned to it. So I came out here before we did this infusion and I built a little platform underneath the rift. Shutting the rift may blow that up, but that's okay. So last time I did this, this is going to be the second time I've done this. In my last attempted playthrough here, as soon as I right click this near the thing, it blew up and I took a bunch of temporary warp. I'd sort of like to avoid getting that warp sickness again. So I'm going to try and sort of stand back a ways here and see if I can do this. Huzzah! Alright, so we got 5 void seeds, but unless it fell through, which we can go ahead and come down here, it does not look like we necessarily got a primordial pearl, which is unfortunate, because that means we're going to have to kick off another void rift and try this again. So that's unfortunate, but not completely unexpected. So I'm going to go ahead and I don't think I have enough. Yeah, I got to cook up some more Vidium. It takes 50, so I'm going to cook up some more Vidium and make some more reagents for another causality collapser, and we'll give this another try. And we'll repair this. So I will pause the video and I will go make us some more stuff. We're also going to have to open up another void. We can probably go ahead and do that right now. Let's see if I'm out of range for... Oh, what did I want to do? I should check my sanity real quick. I think I was standing far enough away that I don't think I got a big warp hit from playing with that. Where's my sanity checker? Here it is. Let's see. So, yeah, it looks like I'm still doing okay. That meter in the top left seems like I'm still doing okay. When your purple bars get up into the that first gold ring, that's when you start having a lot of symptoms. The sort of darker purple at the bottom is permanent warp that I have picked up from doing research into taboo stuff like voids and rifts and etc. etc. And then the lighter is not permanent. But it won't go away unless I try and take it off with sanity soap and whatnot, which as far as I could tell, the one time I tried that, it took ridiculous amounts of sanity soap to make any dent in that stuff, so I'm hoping not to have to deal with that. And then if I had any like sort of just real temporary stuff, the stuff that wears off by itself, then that would be a lighter pink on top of the there. But it looks like I was standing far enough back to not have any problems from closing that rift. Let's go ahead and try and open another one real quick here. See what happens. Might as well show you guys that. So again, as I mentioned last time, I don't want the void rift to spawn on me, and I don't necessarily want to take a lot of warp, so I tried standing in the next chunk over. So you can see I'm in this chunk. There's a chunk line right here, and then over in this chunk is where I've got my stuff. And so I'm going to go ahead and try again to just sort of stand back a bit. And because I'm standing back a bit, I'm going to go ahead and use a dropper to drop stuff into there. So let's start by just throwing a bunch of cobblestone in there. Should have checked to see if there's water in there. And there is not water in there. Let's see, I should have... yes, I've got a tank of water with me. So there, we got some water in there, and we will let that warm up. And as soon as it warmed up, it cooked up all of that cobblestone that had dropped in there. Let's go ahead and throw one more stack in there just for kicks and giggles. Now it's starting to bubble over. That's some good chaos right there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shift right click on the cauldron, which empties it and basically blows all of that into the air, and see if that opens a rift. And I don't see one. So rifts, when they form at the highest level in the area. So you can see there's no floating slime islands above here or anything. So if it was going to form, should form right about at water level. So let's go ahead and fill it up with water one more time. And then throw another couple stacks of cobblestone in there. don't want to go too overboard and make some huge rift or, cause any serious problems. Give it one more here. Yeah, we got it bubbling over. That's a good sign. And we'll shift right click to belch all that out of there. And still no rift. Ah, there's a little baby rift. So there we go. We got another rift in there. Gotta check my sanity here real quick. Still looking good, so we didn't get any damage from putting this out there. Go ahead and turn off the chunk lines now, and I'm going to go ahead and build this platform out here just a bit further. It's just sort of handy to have when you sort of toss the causality collapser. You want it to land on something, so it's good to have something for it to land on. So we'll just build this out a bit more. And for those of you that are unaware, the rifts will destroy blocks. So if you try and put it here, you can see it destroyed that block. Boom. Which is one of the reasons I'm building it out here in the ocean. It's just sort of, to give it, make sure it's not doing any damage to the world. Alrighty, so now we just need to get the ingredients and infuse another causality collapser and come back here and try this again and hopefully get a Primordial Pearl. So I'm going to pause this now and make another one, and I'll be right back. Okay, so it is the next day for me. So what happened was I created another couple of causality collapsers, and I went out there and collapsed that void and another and another and another. So I did 5 of them and got 5 void seeds each time, and I got sort of frustrated. So I went to see if there was anything we could do to speed this process up. I know that the causality or that the primordial pearls are sort of a rare drop, but I'm not that patient, so I thought I'd see if there was anything we could do. Somebody suggested that larger rifts have a better chance of dropping primordial pearls. So I came back into the world and dumped several dozen stacks of cobblestone in, and no rift formed. So I dumped several more and no rift formed, and I dumped several more. And then finally I said, hey, wait a minute. So I pulled out my thermometer and looked at the chunk, and the chunk was not tainted at all. So there was some sort of glitch, and it was no longer getting tainted at all. And I sort of got frustrated and said, okay, time to call it a night. So we are back the next day. And this time I once again thought, okay, let's try that. So I went out to my ocean void area, threw in several stacks. As I was throwing them in, trying to build up as much taint as possible, a little rift formed. And I thought, well, crap. So I evacuated my crucible, filled it up several more times, evacuated it more times, thinking that maybe a bigger one would spawn, a second one would spawn, maybe the little rift would grow bigger. No good, no joy. So I did some more Googling, and I heard somebody suggest that that the size of the rift is dictated by the amount of aura. So if you can see up in the top left, we've got, if I crouch, we've got 136.8 V in this aura or essence in this aura. I forget the exact terminology, but you get the point. So we've got 136. So this is not a particularly magical zone. And out at my ocean void, it was a little under, I don't know, it was about 120 or something. So it was not a particularly magical chunk either. So when I had done this the first time, in my last attempted playthrough of Enigmatica 2 Expert, I did it in the Twilight Forest, and I don't know how magical the lake was that I did this on, but it was a pretty darn big void rift that spawned, that I got my Primordial Pearl on the first try. So I thought it was worth a try. I mean, it's not like I'm losing anything to move, really. So I picked up my crucible, and I knew that I had an area out here. There is, we can fly around with our thermometer out, but the magical forest tends to have a lot of V in its aura, or, you know, again, whatever the terminology is. We can see here we're at 376. Over here, we're at 376. So that makes a certain amount of sense. The magical forest is definitely related to Thaumcraft. You have things like, I believe this is the Vish Room is a Thaumcraft. Is a Thaumcraft block, and those are all over the magical forests. And of course, you have the great wood trees, and etc., etc. So I don't know if all great wood biomes are high in aura, but I've been coming over here before when I first started working on Thaumcraft, and I reached the point where I did not have enough juice over at my base over there to do something on the arcane workbench. I would load it up and bring it out over to here to the forest to do my combines. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and see if we can open up a rift here, see if we have a bit more success. So we're going to go ahead and let's see. So what I did was I just put down a 16 by 16 thing here. Again, I'm doing it over water, and I'm doing it hopefully in a place where, since the rift spawns at the highest point in the chunk, or, you know, at the highest point in the position it is in the chunk, it'll, you know, be at nice and ground level here on this, and give us an easy chance to close it. And again, just to be safe, I'm going to stand outside of the chunk while I do this, just so that the void rift doesn't spawn on top of me. And we'll go ahead and get this all set up. And in the interest of time, I think I'll pause here and set this all up, and then we'll take a look at it. Be right back. Alrighty, time for take 6. So since I'm going to be trying to put a ton of cobblestone in there, I'm not going to use the dropper this time. I'm just going to make sure that I'm standing just outside of the chunk so the thing doesn't spawn on me, and see if I can just lob stuff in there. And we're just going to dump a ton of stuff in there and see what happens. Sort of hoping for a bigger rift, since this has a higher potential V aura. But we shall see what happens. After I get done with this lump, I'll pull out my thermometer and make sure that we're actually polluting the chunk. since that was something that burned me at the end of last night. Alright, so the chunk I'm in is fine. And yes, we do see wonder why it says region R12 MCA up in the top. Oh, and we've got a rift over there. Doesn't look like a particularly big rift. So, I don't know. I guess that's what we're going to get. So I'm going to go ahead and shift right click and dump even more in there. Alright, well, we get what we get. That looks to be about the same size as the ones the one we got before. But what are you going to do, right? Sometimes you're just fighting the old random number generator. So again, I have block reach, so that allows me to click near this thing from pretty far away. So I'm just going to right click, shoot that over there. And we got at least one void seed up here. Aha! There's my huckleberry. Primordial nodule. Well, I don't know if we just... Whoa, and there's another rift. A bigger rift. Hello, boy. Well, we do have more causality collapsers, so what the heck? Let's close that sucker. And another one. Yay. Oh, I missed. That's why I have the cobblestone under these, so they sort of need to land on something solid to explode. Alright, well, let's sort of pick up some stuff here, see if we got anything more. Did anything drop down here? No, I'm not seeing it. These appear to be just void seeds. Alright, well, definitely these bigger ones didn't necessarily give us one, so I guess it may just be a random number generator kind of thing. So as for the naming convention on these, let's take a look at that real quick. If you look in JEI, it'll say Primordial Pearl. I believe this is a full durability one. So when this durability is at full, I think it's called a Primordial Pearl, and then as you use up durability by using it, I think things like, most of the stuff that you're trying to do, like we're going to be making a blank greater focus, I think it only uses up one durability, and as it gets smaller, the graphic changes and its name changes. So I think it's like, we can see here there's a primordial nodule. I think at 25% it might go down to something like a primordial shard, or I forget what the names are. But whatever it is, this is what we needed. And what we needed it for was this. Scanning. Research completed primordial pearls. So this up here is what we were doing all of this for. So now if we pull out our Thaumanomicon. Yeah, so I'm not 100% convinced that we didn't run enough numbers to see if our finally getting a primordial pearl in the magical forest had anything to do with the size or the aura or anything. But hey, didn't hurt to try something different. And that's basically what I would say, is that, whether it's true or not, that bigger rifts have a better chance, and that bigger rifts form in a chunk with a higher base aura. Whether it's true or not, doesn't hurt to give yourself every advantage you can. So when you're looking to set this up someplace, may as well at least give that a shot. So yeah, we've got now go into our Akashic Tome, select our Thaumanomicon, open that bad boy up, and this is what we were after. Closing flux rifts. No, we already had that. That's where we got that. So well, the thing that we're trying to make is where are the foci? Theory, blank advance complete, and then greater foci. Examine fire very closely. I think you just need to light yourself on fire to get that one. This is what we needed. Greater foci, I think. Let's double check the quest book. Thaumcraft. Blank greater focus. Yes. So basically you don't get the recipe, and I still don't have the recipe. Okay, so I still don't have the recipe for this, it appears. So I think I needed to scan the pearl to open this, because the Primordial Pearl is, okay, I do have the recipe, it just wasn't showing up in JEI. So basically this was the recipe that we had to open up, and we had to get that Primordial Pearl, or Primordial Nodule, or Primordial Mote. So there are your three names for it. So this is what we had to get. So now we need 2 Quicksilvers, our Blank Advanced Focus, which we've been working on, another star, and this Primordial Pearl that we just got, and all of this stuff. So I'm going to make sure that round up all of these. I probably have all of this, but I'm not sure about the vacuos. So I'm going to round all this up, and we will make our Blank Greater Focus and close Thaumcraft. Be right back. Alrighty, I did not have any vacuos, but vacuos is usually made by containers, and I did have a ton of bowls left over from, there was some food that I was eating for a while, and it essentially gave me free bowls out of Pam's Harvest Craft. But I did thought I'd point out that I did end up getting a rift in my compact machine little universe, but since it spawns at the highest point in the chunk, it looks like it spawned on the roof of my little 13 by 13 by 13 compact machine, so it's not doing too much harm up there. But that's one of the reasons I'm doing this in a compact machine as opposed to in my base, so that all of this smelting that I'm doing isn't going to cause one of these in my base. So I'm pretty much going to ignore that and hope that nothing gets worse here. I did power through some stuff, so I did end up having to make a bunch of Vidium to make all of those causality collapsers. And then one more other thing, I did notice that we got 5 void seeds per rift for those little ones we did out in the ocean, for 25 total. But then we got another 23 for those 3 that we did. And the first one we did was pretty small, so it was probably another 5. So then those second 2 that we closed did have more void seeds in them. And again, if there's a chance that a void seed is replaced by a Primordial Pearl during the drop, then there is a good chance that a bigger rift will give you a better chance of getting a Primordial Pearl. So whether it's proved or not in the future, I will probably go to I will probably try to do this if I ever have to do it again in chunks that have a lot of V in the aura, and try for big rifts to up my chance if that really works. Let's see, so do I have enough Ordo now? I do not. Alrighty, so I've made up a bunch of Vacuos. That was easy from getting from bowls. I had some Precantatio from all the fishing rods and enchanted books and bows that I've been cooking up to get Precantatio. So now I'm just going to go grab maybe a few Ordo crystals and finish this up, and then we'll get this greater focus cooked and close Thaumcraft. Be right back. Alrighty, we're back at our infusion area. We've got our our advanced foci in there. We've got our nether star, a couple of quicksilver, and our highly sought after primordial nodule in there. We've got our 100 vacuos, 25 precantatio, and 50 ordo, and away we go. So this one is a moderate one, and it's saying it's 0 to 1 loss per cycle. So again, we're expecting no drama on this. Thanks to the vast amounts of candles we have in the basement. If you didn't watch the last episode, you can see down here that I have a stack of 64 candles, 4 of each of the 16 colors from Mystical Flowers, and a few skulls in just for good measure. So that is right underneath my altar here, and that gives me a very high 3.48 gain per cycle in stability, which is enough to handle pretty much any infusion. And this is for Thaumcraft 6.1 Beta 26. That is not always true for all versions of Thaumcraft. I don't even think it's true for all versions of Thaumcraft 6. So keep that in mind. They went through a phase where they had powered stabilizers. They went through a phase where there were diminishing returns on any candle, whereas opposed to each color of candle is separate in 6.1 Beta 26. So just keep in mind that the version of Thaumcraft matters a lot for all of this stabilization of infusion. So we're ticking down on our vacuos. Not seeing the stream, but mousing over here, we got 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we're pulling in our reagents. So this bad boy, an important safety tip, you could see it got smaller, but it did not disappear. And so you have to remember to pick this up. I almost didn't notice that the first time I did this. It did downgrade itself from a primordial nodule to a primordial mote, and it did use up some durability, but we do still have it. So if anything weird happens and we needed to use it again, we would have it. And there you have it. There's our blank greater focus. That's sort of the hardest thing to get here. And we've completed that quest. Claim that reward, and we are done with Thaumcraft. Yay! This is probably of the non-bragging rights stuff. Thaumcraft is probably the worst chapter for me. I mean, sure there are things that we haven't done yet, like the rainbow generator and nether star generator. In forestry, the bees are sort of a pain in the ass, but that's just more of a time thing. It's just, it's not that hard. You just have to do it. In industrial foregoing, the black hole stuff is a bit hard to craft. So there are other things in here that are sort of a pain that take some time. But Thaumcraft for me is the one that is the most futzy. And now the big question is, did I escape Thaumcraft with my mind intact? I think I did. I was a lot more careful about where I stood and what I exposed myself to, and I didn't do any forbidden research that wasn't required for closing the pack. So if we pull out my sanity checker, ah yes, beautiful. So the dark purple down there is my permanent stuff from research, and then the lighter purple up above, I'm looking at the top left sanity monitor, is the stuff that we could in theory scrub off with sanity soap, but that seems like a very hard process for me the one time I tried it. But the good news is basically we stayed below that first gold ring, so I don't think I'm going to have very much symptoms. So I am happy. Alright, so now on to something different. So we have now taken care of Thaumcraft. Also in between episodes, what I did was I originally just set up some Indoflames up here with one mana spreader and one mana well. Is that what they're called? Mana pools. And then I just set it up auto like this, where I have a slab with some redstone on it. So I got a redstone to redstone to redstone, which basically makes it so that if nothing is on this pressure plate, the hopper will put things into the open crate and drop it on here. So if we check that, if I show you how that works real quick, I don't think we're going to need much more mana, but it would not hurt to load these bad boys up again just in case. So you can see here, basically once the coal is on there, it turns off the hopper, so you're only dropping one thing at once, and then as the Indoflames use them, you'll drop another one. So I set up a second one of those over here, made 9 more Indoflames. Technically, I think this setup, that a mana spreader really can only handle about 8 Indoflames, but I make 9 anyway, just because it's a nice even number. So we did that. We did a few other things, like we opened up the portal here. Basically, you just make a couple of pylons and you put mana pools under them, and you build this structure here. And you click with your forestry wand, or wand of the forest, I should say, on the control block, and this lights up. And then we can toss stuff through it, and the elves will trade things back to us. So I did a few of that. I got some dream wood, through them some living wood, and they gave me some dream wood in return. That allowed me to make the elven mana spreader. If we take a look at what else is going on here in Botania. So we've made most of this stuff, and I went ahead and made the Gaia pylons. We had Elementium from recycling armor drops. We had a Benevolent Goddess Charm, and I think one of these wands from quest rewards. I did the Gaia Guardian 1 fight. I went ahead and did that just to make sure. I actually had sort of not planned to do it, but I accidentally activated it while trying to make sure that I had enough room out here. And I didn't have the camera on, so I just finished it. So I thought I'd go ahead and film the second fight, just for kicks and giggles. So with the Gaia fragments that we got from the first fight, we combined that with some Elementium to make a Gaia Spirit Ingot. And we're going to throw this down and do the second fight. And I think it's a little harder this time, but to be honest, we are so far along the tech tree that we have toughness, we've got regeneration 5, we've got strength 5, we've got health boost 5, we've got, most importantly, resistance 5, which basically means we don't take damage anyway. I'm going to go ahead and, I can leave that on. I was going to change into my real helmet, but it doesn't really matter. So the bottom line is there's nothing they can really do to us here other than annoy us. So let's go ahead and get her done. So I have to shift and right click. So there's the Guardian of Gaia, and it's charging up and invulnerable right at the moment. See, it's got a big staticky health bar up at the top. So now we're just going to shoot it. Creates a lot of these pixies as well. You can shoot those. Okay, so it's now gone into its whole vulnerable phase where it's going to summon monsters to attack us. But as you can see, we're pretty much taking no damage here. Our armor's taking some damage, but we aren't, so ain't no thing. So basically it looks like it shoots out little rays every once in a while, so you're probably going to want to, if you're actually taking damage, you'll want to, like, you know, dodge back and forth or maybe circle strafe it. Looks like it might be about done with its waves. This pink stuff on the ground, I think, is a problem. But yeah, there you go. Pretty easy fight if you are invulnerable. Surprisingly. Not. So now I think we're supposed to get some sort of dice of fate or something. I have Global Traveler on my gun, so whatever it dropped, it went straight into my ME system. So let's open it up. We want to look for... I cannot type. Gaia Fragment, so I think I was down to maybe 3-ish or so. I think I got 6 for the first fight, and then used a few up for things. So we've got 17 of those. And I think we should also have the Dice of Fate. So if we pull that out, I believe we get, yes, there's our quest completion. So on this one, I think you open it, and there's basically 6 different items you can get, most of which are not going to be too helpful for me at this point in the game. Although I wouldn't mind getting a Ring of Odin, I believe. That's what I got last time, and I think it was plus 10 hearts. And I would just be curious to see if this hearts monitor will go up even further than the pink that we have. So let's give this an open. And we got the Key of the King's Law. I'm not sure what that is. But there you have it. We've done that fight now twice. That should give us... we can now do this and close that up, the Gaia Mana Spreader. I think we were waiting on... Oh, I was waiting on Elven Trade because I needed to get Pixie Dust for some of these things. For all of these things to upgrade the sparks that I'm not really using. And again, I needed Pixie Dust to from the Elven Trade to do the Conjuration Catalyst, so we can do that now. So that is pretty much the last main thing for Botania. Now it's just a matter of just doing the crafting completes. Again, we're so far along with technology that most of these plants and things are not really necessary for our game. So I'm just gonna bust these out off camera to close the chapter. But there should be nothing else I require and nothing major to prevent me from closing Botania. And then one of the things we needed was we needed a Gaia Fragment, a Gaia Spirit to make our Archmage Blood Orb. So we have that now. So that will allow us to, and we can do that as well. For this, I need to crystallize some Demon Will. But yeah, so blood magic should be pretty easy to close out now as well. So where are we at? I did in the background just do some stuff. So we've got most of industrial foregoing, most of extra utilities cleaned up. Mechanism is closed. Actually, additions is closed. So I've been sort of just closing that stuff. Most of the stuff there we're not going to use except for possibly the digital miner from Mechanism. We're probably going to use that on the moon to get some dilithium. Well, probably not. I can probably just manually mine it. I don't need a ton of it. But we might use it on some place like one of the other planets to get titanium or rutile ore. And then also the industrial foregoing laser base and lasers. We might use that somewhere to selectively get something like we might need more Ender Amethyst or something. But most of the stuff from closing up these chapters has been sort of unnecessary. So the next main thing that we're going to do on camera, or at least I'll show you what I did on camera, is we need to get through advanced rocketry. And the main thing is we don't need a lot of anything from space, to be honest with you. We're getting iridium ore and dimensional shard ore and prosperity ore and mana infused ore. We're getting all of that from our tier 5 void ore miner. So the rutile ore is one thing that we could use for more titanium, although we don't need it. I don't think we need a ton more titanium. We might need some titanium singularities, in which case we'll probably need, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 of those. And that's probably the only thing I can think of that might cause us to need a lot. Let's take a look at that. So there are titanium singularities. They do cost 10,000 ingots each, and they are used in the ultimate singularity. So there you go. We are going to need a ton of titanium. And so that is our main reason to go to space. So probably we'll end up using the digital miner, or possibly, probably the digital miner to get us some titanium on a different planet. And then the other thing is you can't get the destabilized clathrate, energized clathrate, and resonant clathrate except for on the planets. So we can't close out this chapter until we successfully go through this and make a rocket and then make a space station and then put warp in that space station and fly it to other planets to get these things. So I'll probably work on the infrastructure for this and get some of the machines built. And then I'll show you when we launch our rockets and form our space station and do all that stuff. So that will be coming up in the future. And then also we need to, that'll be sort of the last of the mid-game stuff, is working on that. A lot of this stuff like Ender.io is just going to be bashing through the recipes. We don't really have a ton of use for most of these machines at the moment. And then that will leave us with bragging rights, and that's where it will be still sort of new to me. So I'm still not very familiar with most of the stuff that goes on when we get into Draconic Evolution and Avaricium and all of the extended crafting, hullabaloo, singularities and craziness and ultimate this and infinity that and wyvern this and draconic that. I'm not really familiar with any of that stuff. So that's sort of where this game was really this run through was really gonna start for me. Up until now, I'm just sort of rehashing what I did in my first playthrough of Enigmatica 2. So, and I learned so much in that playthrough that this has gone pretty quick getting through all of these early chapters. But when we get into the draconic stuff and the wyvern and the yada yada, uh, then we might have to slow down a bit while I figure out what the heck is going on. But anyway, there you go. We have now closed Thaumcraft, which is a relief, and we have the means to close the rest of the magic stuff. So we are now gonna just do that and then start working on advanced rocketry. So I will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions about how I did anything or why I did anything, please leave a comment. And if you notice anything or have any tips for me, please let me know. I'm always trying to Google and watch other playthroughs from other people to try and find the best ways and to learn how to do things the best way, the most efficient way. But obviously, I still have tons to learn. There's so much to learn about all of these mod packs, so if you have any tips for me, always happy to hear them. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.